turning into this generation's Christopher Walken. I mean,
Oh wow!
You're
Wow, having worked with the guy, that's high praise indeed.
You're recognizable in every single film. You've been in every franchise, and now you're in Black Sails.
Yeah, here I am.
And I mean, Black Sails had some great success over the last 2 years, from coming onto YouTube to now averaging over 4.5 million viewers. What attracted you to this? Like I said, you have a really busy schedule.
Well, yeah, I mean, when they first sent it through, I try and catch 1 or 2 episodes of anything new anyway. So I've seen about 1 or 2 episodes early on, just because of my lifestyle. I'm not in one place long enough, or whatever. But then they sent the script through and they sent me more episodes to watch. But what did attract me to it more than anything was the making of. I watched the making of, and you saw the production values, which were through the roof. You saw the fabricating department, the costume department, and also the actors, the way they were talking. And but yeah, it was that, and I thought, you know what? This is why we get out of bed. This is what we do. This just looks epic, and they're definitely, clearly putting their money where their mouth is. So you want to be involved in a show that has that much commitment, and such a recognizably tight team, both cast and crew. So,
I mean, I grew up reading Treasure Island. I mean, it was like, I was always fascinated with pirates and things like that. Any pirate movies that came out. Were you familiar with Blackbeard and all that?
Yes, of course, yes. I mean, you know, I'd read Treasure Island as well, you know, like Blind Pew and the Black Spot and all that. So yeah, I loved that. And of course, you know, I remember reading it when I was a very junior school. I can't even remember what the stories essentially were about, but there were these 3 books: the Green Pirate, the Red Pirate, and the Blue Pirate. And I can't remember what this, but I was fascinated with getting one after the other. You know, so that stuck there. And you know, everybody plays with swords and
growing
pistols.
up, right?
Yeah, it was just swords and muskets and flintlocks and yeah.
You've actually played some mischievous people in the past, and yet at the same time, you've also had some deep characters like Danny Green. Are we going to see a lot of depth to Blackbeard this year? We're going to see some
I
of
hope
his
so,
past?
yeah, definitely, because you know, once you do all your research and everything, and you know, history is written essentially by the victors or by sensationalists. So there's enough, a smorgasbord of stuff. You can find essences of him, and what Black Sails does is basically push for the humanity within these people. Right? They are pirates in a pirate world, but it's not about the sort of, you know, it's not about being a cutthroat, right, gnarly old pirate. It's about the humanity within that world and about how that's played out, or inhumanity itself. So that's a great opportunity to bring a character like this, who's larger than life, essentially. And he was in life. In life, he was larger than life. In fact, he was 6'3" or 6'4", Edward Teach. So in his day, he knew it was the whole theatrical, but he had this amazing, tremendous presence anyway. But there's still a thread of who this person was, what makes him tick, what makes him who he is. And it's not, you know, you can't just bluster your way through living on a past legend that you were notorious and you were cutthroat and everything. You're around gnarly people. I mean, you know, you're going to be found out if you're not the real deal. Well, he's the real deal. So.
So what you said in research, that's one of the biggest things, and we all know a lot of the story about Blackbeard. Was there anything that really surprised you when you went into the details of his life? And
I suppose, I think what surprised me, there are a couple of things. More playful, well, the fact that he was from Bristol, and which was and did become a notorious slave port in England as well. I studied there. I studied the Bristol Vic Theatre School down there.
Wow.
And so I was there for a good 2-3 years and full of immersed in the history and all this, and you know. But a man who just had been pardoned so many times, had his life back, was living in Virginia, was married 8 different times, and but still, no, this was not enough. He had to come back. There was something about him that was just undeniably honest in that sense. And then one of the playful about it is that this sense of theatricality. He knew his height was imposing. So what did he do? He got himself in a kind of russet red frock coat, layered up with pistols. I mean, it's almost like he turned himself into a tank, and he knew the imposing nature. And there's drawings of him with the match cords for the canister, burning, and he knew the effect that this would have, in the hope that the other ship would just go, hey, it's Blackbeard, give it up, capitulate. We don't want to fight. Take the booty. He said, great, I'll see you in 3 months. So nobody gets killed. Right. His crew gets paid. He lives to fight another day. But he knew the power of that and used it to great effect. So that was a great reveal. There's a playfulness to it.
Speaking of play, that's perfect. It seems like he's going to be playing a lot of people throughout this series, and whether allies or foes. Could you give us a little bit of insight on that, moving forward into the season?
Well, he comes back after 8 years away because he hasn't been able to essentially to find an heir. He's had 8 marriages. They've brought nothing but girls. Not a bad thing, but in those days, he needed an heir apparent, and somebody, because it was so important in those days that one's legend lived on, that one's place in history was secured. And in fact, this is why a lot of them became pirates in the first place, because back in the civilized West, what you were born was what you remained. And here they could carve their own future and their own wealth and their own place in history and their own status and their own station. So he comes back looking for somebody who he used to mentor and who he thinks, if that relationship is still possible to rekindle, could in fact become his heir apparent, and his legend will live on.
Anything we should really look forward to this year with Blackbeard?
Everything is going to be turned on its head. It's like wave after wave laps on the beach of Nassau, and it just gets bigger and bigger, and then the storm surge is coming, and boom. I think everybody's going to be on the edge of their seats. As somebody described it, it's lean-in TV.
Awesome.
So yeah, watch
we look forward to it.
I hope you enjoy it.